never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Thank God it's Friday. That's all I can say to you, folks. It's been a hell of a week. It's going to be a hell of a weekend. And next week, I have my suspicions it's going to be even bigger. Bigger, much bigger. That could be for a variety of reasons, not the least of which what's happening in the precious metals market at the moment. Just having a bit of a look at Ainsley Bullion, and the buy price currently there, the silver spot price is $77.32. But if I check a couple of the other sites, it's over $78. In fact, one of them is showing $78.59 right now. So the trend with silver and gold, for that matter, is heading up, although gold does seem to have flattened a little bit today. It's just over $6,000 an ounce, come down from the highs it's experienced earlier this week where it was 6,200. But that is a happy coincidence for us, because if you look to the right, if you go to ainsleyBullion.com.au and have a look at their ticker and look to the right, you'll see the gold silver index. And at the moment, that's currently sitting at 78.61. It's going down, and that's what we need, folks. The closer that gets to 1-to-1, the better it's for your little stack of silver. So I hope you are growing yours. If you would like to grow it by 10 rounds, 10 Byron Bobs, we can help you with that. All you're going to do is email me, carl@vofhq.com, and we will send these off to you. Maybe you're looking for Christmas gifts. Now, these are 4 that I sent off to Skipper Pete. He was keeping one for himself and giving them to his family for Christmas until he received them today. And he stacked these himself. I'll have you point out, folks, I couldn't live with my bipolar or whatever it is that I've got. OCD wouldn't allow me to have the Ainsley logos and the trees mixed up. I just couldn't do that. They've got to be one side or the other. I did try and mix them up on a couple of occasions for folks I've sent them to, and just didn't work at all. At any rate, that's what they looked like when they turned up at Skipper Pete's, and he's decided that he's hanging on to them. He's not giving them away for Christmas. Well, maybe, but at this stage, he might be keeping a weathered eye open for some new Christmas gifts. Speaking of a weathered eye, there's going to be some interesting weather coming around through New South Wales and Queensland over the next couple of days. If you're going to be expecting to be a part of all that, then look out, folks. So it's going to be a bit wet and a bit windy from what I'm told. So be careful if you're in, around, and part of that. The Byron Bobs, if you are remotely interested in getting some, we can help you out. Vince is going to bring us up to speed shortly with how many more of these magnificent 3D holders that he's currently printing up. And hand painting, you should know. Not this one. I did this one. That's why you'll never get it, because it's shit. But Vince does a bloody great job of them, and we'll have a few more of those. I've got, I think I've got 4 left, or I've got 2 left. I got a couple of orders today for people looking for these Byron Bobs. $130 plus $14 postage and handling. And we're not making anything out of that. In fact, we've got to go and buy some more plastic filament so that more of these can be made. So I guess we should talk to the man himself, who's been sweating away over a hot printer on our behalf, and he waves so eloquently. Oh, now it's the cool wave. Okay.
It's the cool wave. It's the Queen's wave.
Oh, nice. A bit more stiff in the wrist, mate.
Sorry, I got it wrong.
So thank you very much. I was going to say, you're looking very clean shaven today, but I know you've been on the road. You've been to the big smoke. You've had to do things. In fact, you've been, I think, to Adelaide every day this week, haven't you?
Pretty much. I think we missed a couple of days in the middle there where we spent time recovering, but yeah. But back there again today. And of course, along with your Mayhem Friday was my Mayhem Friday. Have we had a day today or what? Holy cow, people, if only you knew.
Oh, yeah. It's been a tearer of balls. Let's put it that way. And I trust that yours is sorting itself out, mate. Have you had a resolution? Has there been a discovery?
Yes,
Good.
there's been a discovery, and I just had a phone call a little while ago. So she is where she needs to be.
Very good. Very good.
I am good.
Before we get into tonight's proceedings, folks, we should be saying hello to whoever's managed to get themselves into the room first up tonight, the lovely Rachel, who, quite bereft of me, I should have pointed out, day before yesterday, Jimmy, JFK, had to go to the vet. Now, it wasn't an unexpected trip to the vet, but it was a trip to the vet that involved the snip. So we are quite hopeful that I think he's pretty cool, Jimmy. He's settled in very well with Rachel. And Willow, his girlfriend, who I think leaves over the weekend, she's been staying with Rachel too for the last month or so. And he's going to be lost for a day or so until two more hounds turn up to be babysat. So Jimmy's living his best life at the moment. You've got to be pretty happy with that. Spazza, hope you're doing well, brother. I owe you a phone call. I will get to it. Paul, I hope you are well. The legend himself, Mr. Bergwerf, thank you very much for the stuff you're sending through. Very interesting. In fact, one of the things Darren sent through was a TikTok he discovered today where the Canadians have just woken up to the fact of executive orders and what it really means. Tonight's probably not the night because I want to be able to prepare that and show you these particular executive orders. But throw your mind back, folks, and I know it's probably hard for some of us, but throw your mind back 8 years, 10 years, and have a bit of a look at what Donald Trump did, particularly in his first 12 to 18 months as president. Now, he won the election in 2016, but didn't effectively take over until 2017. Obviously, I think it was the 21st, the 20th of January. 2018 proved to be a decisive year for his executive orders, but there were some that came out in 2017 that are worthy of maybe reacquainting yourself with. A lot of these equate to election interference and what happens to nations if they are caught red-handed interfering in elections. What the military does, whether or not the military was ever called up, whether or not the commander-in-chief, and this is, for me, one of the interesting things that I don't know if I've talked about it a great deal on the show. I've probably mentioned it once or twice, but for me, when Trump now signs himself 45-47, what does that mean to you? Does that mean he's the 45th and the 47th president? Or does that mean Vince 45, 46, 47?
Depends on who wants to interpret it.
Well, I think he only uses he uses 45-47 all the time. But when we go back to that big meeting that he called with all the generals, now that was a very significant meeting. They had to reaffirm their allegiance to the Republic of the United States as opposed to the corporation of the United States. And his executive orders that were written back in 2018, 13818 is one specifically worth checking out. That pretty much sets up the line of succession should election interference be proven. Now, the military, upon whiffing potential election interference, let's say in 2020, took over quietly. But that left Trump as commander-in-chief. So when he left office after the Biden scam of an election, he left before Biden was inducted. He left on Air Force One. He left surrounded by 17 flags with the golden edge, the golden tassel edge. Biden was left to fend for himself at his inauguration, which started, I think it was 11 or 12 minutes early, something that's absolutely unheard of. There was a lot of AI involved in that entire production. And for me, one of the telling examples that all is not as they are trying to make it seem was when Biden left the inauguration and drove to the White House. Not only did the military who were lining the streets between the Capitol and the White House turn their back on the presidential motorcade, but when they got to the White House, the doors weren't open. They knocked. Nobody answered the doors. The two Marines standing in full dress uniform either side of the front door did not move. And eventually, Joe or Mrs. Joe opened up the door and they sort of just walked in. And now most people think, that's a normal thing. But that is not normal. When a new president comes to the White House, the whole staff are on the steps to meet them. That's part of the pomp and circumstance of becoming the new president. Now, yes, he might go inside and sack them all and go and get his own staff, but the pomp and circumstance, all part of it. And of course, Trump was vacating the White House in those days. So I don't know. Watch this space. There is a lot of interesting military movements happening in the world. The whole Israeli thing is being exposed now on so many levels, with so many questions being asked about Israeli involvement, Mossad involvement, Zionist organizations' involvement in so many aspects of what appears to be controlled or going wrong badly in America at the moment. And so far, a lot of the filters seem to have been removed. People are coming out and telling the truth, and from a variety of different sources, I think there is a lot of new vision that is being made available that historically has been kept or swept from us. And now, through the Wayback Machine or whatever, somebody's got hold of it, and we are being shown significant evidence of a history we have never, ever been told existed. So silver doing what it's doing, gold doing what it's doing, everything seems to be going up in that area. The stock market is screaming. And in fact, I don't know if I've got the correct image. Let me just see if I can find it. One of the big quotes that has come out of America today has come from one of the big JP Morgan bankers. I don't have it here. And his quote is, "We better be investing in bullets because the market is at a point when it crashes, it's going to take everything with it." And so for someone like, one of the big wigs in JP Morgan to come out and say we should be investing in bullets and stockpiling them is either an admission of severe guilt that people are going to come looking for them, or that the market is going to be absolutely worthless, and many lives are going to change significantly if their wealth is still wrapped up in the promissory notes of a stock market. So no fun there at all. And now, Vincenzo, I've talked a great deal and I haven't let you say anything. Do you want to jump in at this stage, or do you want me to leap off into this great idea that I've had years ago and now people tell me they want to hear?
Well, give me 2 seconds. So I'll have 5 seconds of whatever in 3-second lots. No, that doesn't work. Sorry. Just out of interest, to do with digital ID and stuff that's coming through. I've got multiple Gmail accounts on my phone because everything I'm managing, I have different Gmail accounts for various bits and pieces. And
Sure.
It got mucked up. So therefore, I had to sign out of Google to sign in my correct account, so I didn't go to Melbourne to go home, because that's where it was trying to send me for home. And upon signing back in, I get hit with this, which is called agree to video verification. And there's a whole document, bits and pieces here, right, telling me that they want to take a video of me, etc., to prove who I am, etc., and so on, and that I can delete this later, providing I've built my channel up to a certain level. So that means, like, this is my private account. I don't have a private YouTube or Google channel, right? But get this, right? Allow Google to use this and any previously provided selfie videos and related data to develop and improve our facial recognition, age estimation, and other verification methods that use your physical features or movement across Google services. Your selfie videos and related data will be processed as described here and in our privacy policy. You can change this setting or delete your selfie videos and related data at any time on your Google account. But a little bit further up, it says you can delete your videos, including your face model, at any time in your Google account. If you delete your video before you establish your YouTube channel history, you won't be able to use the advanced features to regain access. You will need to build your YouTube channel history or complete ID or video verification again. Hello, Karen and Google. Google's all set for this. They love this. They want to do this. So there you go. That's straight from the horse's mouth or straight off my bloody phone. There you go.
Wow. So the Karen was in front of the Senate today answering questions about digital ID and access, because every adult in this country, regardless of what they think, will have to prove their age, that they are over 16, to be able to access the internet, given the current laws. And they plan to come in, I think, on the 6th of December.
Yep.
Now, she was at great pains today to tell those asking her that regardless of digital ID or not, that the providers must provide an alternative way other than digital ID for you to prove that you are over 18. Now, you and I have been doing that quite comfortably, clicking into multiple Google accounts and all that with passwords up until today, by the sound of it.
Yep.
Now that's going to change to a facial recognition thing. I've taken two pieces of advice I've taken on. I've taken to closing my eyes when it wants to do some kind of facial recognition thing, so it thinks I'm blind. And the other one is one that I picked up on the internet today. I think it was on Facebook or somewhere like that. They said when you're filling in a data acquisition form, name, address, phone number, that kind of thing on the internet, put a different word for your middle name. Use the name of the company that you're actually going to be doing business with, the reason it's asking for this identifying information. So put your middle name in the middle where it says middle name, or if you don't have a position for middle name, add it. So, Carl eBay Liebold or whatever specific site it is. And that way, when you start getting floods of emails to that Carl eBay Liebold address, you'll know who sold your information. Now, what benefit is that to you at the moment? I'm not completely sure. But given that there is new talk of Nasara Jassara could be a lot of things, but I don't think it's going to be a huge amount of money in her bank account. What it might be is a pretty favorable universal basic income to begin with. And the easiest way to get a universal basic income is to share the revenue off your data stream, of everything that you do. Of course, when you do it online, you leave a digital footprint everywhere. And they're selling that data now for billions and billions and billions of dollars. The model to change, where you might be able to get some of that money back, would happen through governmental changes in how that can be shared, how that money can be shared. I see you shaking your head.
I was actually not shaking my head at what you were saying. I was shaking my head at the idea of what you were saying, because effectively the universal basic income, I don't think you are going to get a reasonably suitable amount of money to sort of comfortably live. And I like the fact that you said to begin with, which was even better.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, this is going to be all about control. And if they
No,
give us a
people,
reasonable amount of money,
what they'll do is sweeten the pot. So there will be significant incentive for us to want to get a hold of our Nasara wealth, right? Or whatever portion of it they share or decide they're going to share. Now, to get us to adopt that, they're going to pluck our greed string, because your next door neighbor and your son, your daughter, your auntie, your uncle, your grandfather, everybody you know is going to say, the government wants to put $780,000 in my bank account. And all they want from me is to sign up to digital ID. Or they want to put $3.2 million in my bank account. Or they want to pay me $1,000 a week for the rest of my life, indexed to, the cost of living. And I don't have to go to work. I don't have to do anything. I can go and do whatever I like on my $1,000 a week. Now, for some people, you're right. Some people will say, well, what do I do for the other $5,000 a week I need to live, to pay this, to pay that, to, go here, to do that, buy a new set of golf clubs, all those good things. Well, I believe that Nasara, when it comes, will have something to do with how much tax you've paid in the background anyway that's been taken from you unlawfully, and you're likely to get a fair chunk of that back. So for those people who have paid more, they're likely to receive a little bit more. But as for a universal income, I think that will be based on your digital footprint, because it's easily measured from the moment you log on to the moment the business at the other end generates a sale, because they clicked on your link or the link that was in your video or whatever. It's easily trackable and easy to put a dollar amount on. Well, maybe not easy, because we don't know the full extent of how many data points, or maybe we do. Do you know how many data points the average person has now against their name? It used to be in the 300s from memory. So 300 different points of data about you that they knew. And that's why you get targeted ads and all that sort of stuff. But there is probably now, they've probably got 1,500 data points on you. So, anyway, digital ID coming our way. Interesting, too, that this Inman Grant person, the digital ID bitch, is going to America, it appears, with Albo Sleazy for a meeting in the White House. So while I had a conversation about this with someone today who asked me, what are you going to do in December when you can't do this sort of thing anymore? You won't be allowed to. Well, we will be allowed to. I fully believe this will not get through, because Donald Trump is so dedicated to free speech around the world. And it's one of the big sticking points that he has with Australia at the moment. He has a few of them, but one of the big sticking points at the moment is the control that they're planning to exercise over us with this digital ID and access to the internet. Unless you have the right amount of wrinkles, you've got no hope. This is unacceptable to anything to do with America. And now they've put a bit more pressure on the meeting with Albo, because the Americans have quite rightly started asking questions about the Port of Darwin. Some years ago, the Labor government decided they were going to sell that off, and did quite successfully, to China, a 99-year lease, I think. They were put in a position by the Americans with AUKUS in the background, where they had to renege on that deal, pay the Chinese back their money, and get access to their own port back, our own port back. It still hasn't happened. They gave
the dollar back?
No, they were planning on keeping the money as well, but I think China are getting dispensations in other ways.
From my memory, they hired it for $1.
Oh,
I could be wrong.
Or was that Townsville?
I'm not sure, but someplace China leased for $1. I can remember that.
Well, all that's been turned on its ear, apparently, supposedly. And you've got to think the Americans have taken a much bigger interest militarily in Australia, with the announcement of more Marines coming into Australia and being permanently based here. These Marines coming with something like 27 MV-22 Osprey aircraft, the tilt-rotor aircraft, and apparently going to be based out of Toowoomba, which is an interesting place to base, a Marine expeditionary force, so to speak. So that'll be one up in Darwin and one in Brisbane, or just out of Brisbane. They, of course, have access to their own ships as well. And in fact, they call them World War ships, these Marine Wasps. I think the one is called the Wasp, actually. These Marine ships carry everything from jump jets and helicopters, predominantly helicopter forces, attack helicopters, lots of Apaches. And of course, we've just taken delivery of our first few Apache helicopters that are replacing the absolutely horrendous Pumas, or the MRH-90s, that have been a staple of the American military, I think, since Ricardo Bosi put a rubber stamp on their... Well, I don't know if Ricardo did actually put a rubber stamp on their transition from Black Hawks to these pieces of shit that fall out of the sky and kill our people. But thankfully, the light has been seen. More Black Hawks coming back into the Australian military forces too, thank God. Black Hawks and Seahawks. And now we have a bunch of very attractive Apache serious attack helicopters. I was fortunate when Australia got their first attack helicopters. I was very fortunate to be invited to their inauguration, which was out at the Oki military base in west of Toowoomba. These were French-made Tiger attack helicopters. I think we've probably... Oh, now she wants to tell me about them. They were French-built or French-bought initially. Pilots had to go over and learn how to train them, learn how to train in them, then learn how to train others in them. The first two airframes were based out of Oki for many years, doing that sort of training while the other aircraft were brought in and assembled, maintenance and all that sort of crap. Turns out they were useless as well. I would love to know why there is no accountability for the people who make the decisions to buy shit machinery for our defense forces. There is absolutely zero requirement for them to be responsible for the phenomenal wastes of money that we have. It's just, beyond ridiculous. Beyond ridiculous. Things in WA. Okay, so a lot of people are concerned. They've seen this thing that's been popping around on the internet in the last few days. Breaking news out of Western Australia that they are cancelling not just the gun licenses of those people they term sovereign citizens, but they're cancelling the driver's licenses and the car rego of those same people. I have been able to find absolutely zero chance or zero information that the Western Australian government is taking licenses and registration of those that they call sovereign citizens. Personally, I believe that anybody who is calling or referring to anybody else as a sovereign citizen, that person can only be a citizen. They are not smart enough to understand what the whole thing is and how you cannot have an oxymoron, a sovereign and a citizen. Yes, hello.
Sorry. I did a little bit of an explanation on this on the Three Little Pigs the other night about sovereign and citizen, etc. Just quickly before, so you can get back to your other topic. But this is my understanding. Don't take this as gospel, all right? But a sovereign, we are sovereign in Australia because we are the only ones that can change the absolute supreme law of Australia, the Constitution, right? We then choose to follow the laws of the parliament we put into play, right? And that's what they call a citizens for. But we are still sovereign. We are just choosing to obey the laws of the people that we put in to help make those laws, who are supposed to be our servants. Okay?
Exactly. Was government created before people, or were people created before government?
British subjects, actually, if you really want to go, it was British subjects until 1947 or 48, when they brought in the Citizenship Act that changed it all.
Were people created before government, or was government created before people?
Well, I don't know. I haven't talked to God lately about government, whether he's got government up there or not.
Was there a government committee around when Adam and Eve were born?
No.
Right. So I think we can safely say that people were on the planet before government was on the planet.
Correct. That's a really good way of looking at it, Carl. I never thought of that. Thank you.
So if people were on the planet first, that made them sovereign to the land. Okay? Sovereign of their domain, king of everything, because there were no governments, there were no royals, there were no favored bloodlines. There was just people. Started off running around chasing mammoths and spearing them with sticks, trying to get a feed. But as more people and more cultures and more feet on the ground happened in our world, those people decided they needed help with some things, or would be easier if there was help with certain things. And the easiest way to explain that now is things like rubbish removal, sewage services, gutters in your street, asphalt on your roads, the holes filled, that kind of thing. They wanted people to fill those sorts of service kind of things, dating way back to before there were horses and carts and holes in the road to patch. So therefore, it goes to follow on that the people created government. Would you agree, Vince?
Yep. I said,
So,
very good idea. Yeah, I like that. Perfect explanation.
So if people created government, do you believe that the people would create something superior to the people, that the people would be beholden to for the rest of their lives, or would it be inferior to the sovereign people?
Be inferior, has to be, because
It would
nothing
have
can
to
be
be.
created more than from where it came from.
But it has to be inferior to those that created it, does it not?
Yep, 100% agree.
So therefore, the people are sovereign. The government has, over various, well, at various times, has changed very sneakily the wording, the verbiage, the remember, words mean things. Those nefarious black families, if you like, have over the years been able to engineer the current system. The current system where gold and silver have less value than a piece of plastic or a piece of paper that has a few numbers written on it, apparently, until that piece of paper is worth nothing. And we're seeing now how many pieces of paper are worth nothing and how many people are flocking to gold and silver. So much so that Ainsley Bullion next Friday and next Monday are extending their opening hours. I think it's because of Diwali, but Ainsley offices normally close at 4 p.m. weekdays. They're going to close at 5 p.m. next Friday and 6 p.m. next Monday. That's the 17th and the 20th. So not this coming Monday, but yeah, Monday week, 17th and the 20th. So I was speaking with James today in the Gold Coast office, and he's telling me they have people lined up there out the door at the moment. Ainsley, Brisbane, and Melbourne have all done absolutely staggering trade in the last week. Their doors, people have been lined up out the doors. It has been quite amazing. So they're sniffing it. The people are sniffing the change, and they're getting deeply invested into the gold and into the silver. So I hope you are one of them, folks. It's still not too late to buy. What happens? We're sitting at, $78, I think I saw there before. We're sitting at $78 an ounce. Now, what happens if by this time next week we're at $88 or $90 an ounce or $100 an ounce? Now, that means that if you take the advice, you go to ainsleyBullion.com.au right now and you go and buy yourself some gold or silver, you stand to make yourself, in silver's case anyway, if that were to happen, $25, $30 per ounce on what you've got. If you're buying it in kilos, even better. I mean, I was looking at the price of kilos earlier today. It's nearly $2,700. I mean, those of you that were able to get a hold of a kilo for less than 1,000 not all that long ago, you got to be pretty chuffed with the return that is available to you there. Now, there might be a clawback. You know, the prices might go down again, but I don't think they're ever going to go back to $50 an ounce like we saw just a few weeks ago. So my advice, get into Ainsley Bullion or get online and buy there, ainsleyBullion.com.au. Use my name or the Voice of Freedom in the notes section or the comment section, and you will receive a small discount. And every little bit counts. I want to thank Ebony, who has been pointing it out on Facebook. She was one of the people that I took into Ainsley Bullion, I don't know, must be a couple of years ago now. And she had a little bit of money that she was willing to put into gold and silver. She'd sold a business. So I acted as security guard that day for her. And that day she bought gold at, I think it was about $2,300 or $2,400 an ounce. Today or yesterday, when she was explaining this to people in her posts, it was sitting at $6,200. That is a significant benefit, more than any banking institution, more than any self-managed super fund will give you, more than anything at all. So if you've got it, folks, if you have the wherewithal to go and grab a little bit more of it, go and grab a little bit more of it. You're up 1,000 kilos, up 1,000 a kilo in 12 months. Yep. 100%. Well, it's gone up 60, I think it's 67% since January. Gold has gone up over 50% since January and showing no signs of pulling back. We expect it to go a little bit higher tonight, thanks to Paul, who's been giving me a few tips on the European and the Asian market to see how it ebbs and flows when those markets come into play. It's been quite interesting to watch. So keep an eye out. I don't give advice, folks. I just simply ask you to draw your own conclusion. Where else you're going to potentially be able to make returns like this in such a short time frame? I just don't think you're going to be able to. All right. Got 20 minutes left. Do you want to chime in with anything else?
No.
No? You sure?
No. I've had my marching orders.
Oh, I'm not marching you off.
No. That's not what I meant.
And truth be told, I'm not, I probably shouldn't talk too much about this tonight because it's quite involved and I haven't done any pictures with circles and arrows to help with the explanation of it. And I always find that if you're going to talk about something that's quite involved and quite large scale, then anything with circles and arrows to help explain it is much better. So potentially I've got a bit I've got to do over the weekend, but potentially over the weekend I'll get with my circles and arrow generator and I'll be able to elaborate on this a little bit more. But I do have an idea that I believe could be of benefit to everybody in the scenario of immigration in this country. And while mass immigration at the moment is a significant issue, it is because of the encouragement that is being proffered by the imbeciles running the foreign corporation masquerading as a government in Canberra. Their invitation, their incentives that are being handed out to folks in countries that are impoverished, that are looking for a way out, are looking for any chance to improve themselves and improve their life for their families. You cannot fault people for wanting to improve their lives or the lives of their families. The only thing we can fault is the government, who seems to be offering these opportunities in such a fashion that it is detrimental to this country on the scale of which it's being accepted. So what do we do? Well, at the moment, these folks get off the plane and they disappear into a capital city somewhere. I'm sure that DFAT or whatever government organisations are partly involved with these invitations that have been taken up, some of which are students. So the universities have people that pick them up from the airport and look after them pretty much from day one until they get on their feet in the first month or so, when by that time they will have met a few other folks. They will have been able to network, maybe get themselves a job driving an Uber or working in a shop somewhere or whatever, and predominantly lining up to do their first year of study. We don't begrudge people wanting to come and do our university courses and study, but I fear that they are being robbed blind by our universities, because at the moment our universities only real funding comes from overseas students. The big money comes from overseas students. The small amount, by comparison, that our people are being hit with, our younger ones are being hit with by way of a HEX debt and that kind of thing, small fry compared to the absolute huge money per student universities can make. And I don't mean just out of the course. I mean in all the other special services that they provide. Anyway, we don't have enough universities. We don't have enough educators. We don't have enough rooms. We don't have enough anything to allow everybody that wants to come from one of these countries taking up the extremely generous offer from the government so that they can, go to school. Not everybody can come and live in Melbourne, Sydney, the Gold Coast, Brisbane, or wherever, although the government's doing a bloody good job of making sure that they're giving a good fist to everybody who wants to. Hence, we are driving up housing prices like never before, and Australians are being driven out of their own homes under pressures of bank finance and bank trickery, and are being forced into less than salubrious accommodations, either on the inside of their car or, if they're lucky, a caravan or a tent. So what can we do? Well, I think we modify the offer. Because at the moment, there is nothing that I can see in the current offering that is of a benefit to Australia or the Australian people. There is nothing that benefits our nation in any of the offers being put forward by the government. They'll argue, of course, we're getting a multicultural benefit, we're getting financial benefit, but there is no benefit to the country, because we know the money they're getting is being wasted, it's being stolen, it's being used in fraudulent ways so that it propagates their machine without ever achieving much for us, we the people, or our nation as a whole. Now, I was talking last night about things like the water project to bring down the far north Queensland wet water, the billions and billions of litres of water that is lost every year. Not wasted, just lost. Well, there was a project designed many, many years ago to bring that water south, and it would drought-proof the nation for the most part and enable it to become a food bowl for the world. All it requires is workers. We have been struggling for many, many years to come up with a reliable plan for a fast train service, high-speed rail across our nation. It's available in Europe, it's available in Japan, it's available in a number of different countries, and there are different types of technology, but all of them run at well over 200 kilometres an hour and are capable of cutting journey times significantly. There is also some potential with a train like that for tourism, amongst other things. So, the Bradfield project. Thank you, Paul. The Bradfield project is bringing the water south. We don't have a name other than unobtainable for a fast train project to link Perth, Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney, Brisbane. And that's because it's pretty hard to build a straight line, I guess, on a round earth. I don't know. I'm sure there are problems. Heat would be one of the problems with the rail. But a lot of these fast trains don't touch the rails. They're maglev trains. But what happens if your maglev rail starts warping in the 60-degree sun it's got to encounter for 9 months of the year? Well, that could be a few problems. I don't know. Some of these problems are insurmountable, maybe. I don't know. What I do know is that the Bradfield project needs to be built to secure the future of Australia. All the big nation-building projects have involved immigrants to this country. Greeks, Italians, Poles. The Snowy Mountains project would never have been built without immigrants coming and supplying not just the manual labour, but in many cases, the engineering skills required to put it together. Well, I think we changed the offer. The offer is, if you want to come to Australia, we would love to have you. However, this is how it's going to work. You're not going to get off the plane and just meld into Sydney, Brisbane or Melbourne and go and meet up with your relatives and sign up for the dole. We need people who want to invest in this country because it is such a great country. Now, if that doesn't mean you've got to have dollars to throw in. That means you've got to have some skills. And if you don't have skills, that's not a bad thing either. We might be able to help. Because we're going to need a lot of people to dig a lot of dirt and pour a lot of concrete and do a lot of engineering to build something like the Bradfield project. And my suggestion is that we bring these people into the country to do that. And we pay them whatever the dole rate they'd be getting if they got off the plane and were living in the suburb near you, living off the public tit that the government has so generously offered them. Now, while we pay them that money, we don't leave them in the cities. We put them to work on things like the Bradfield project. Now, that'll mean that you are living in mobile towns. That will mean that you will endure certain hardships. You're not going to have a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with 3 Teslas in the driveway initially. We want you to come and be part of this country. Now, if you don't speak English, that's fine. You can learn English on the job. If you are a teacher in whatever country you come from, but your credentials are not recognised here in Australia, as so many aren't, well, we will make you a teacher in these facilities. While you are learning how to teach English, you will teach English to your cohorts who are there. That might mean that, you do 2 days a week in a classroom and 3 days a week out digging holes or doing whatever has to be required to get the project moving forward. But everybody is involved. Everybody gets a skill. If you are unskilled when you get here, then you can learn to be a butcher, a painter, a candlestick maker, a painter, a plumber, a carpenter, all the things, all the skills that you will need, and you will be able to get some prior recognition for working on that project, being overseen by qualified Australians managing the project. So it seems a bit fair or a bit unfair that we've got these people slaving their ass off for whatever the dole will be. And that is not my intention. My intention is that these people would be working in this environment for 4 or 5 years. And in that 4 or 5 years, they would gain all the skills and knowledge required to understand what being Australian is really about. That means that, at holiday times, you get out of wherever the rail happens to be at the time or wherever the channel happens to be dug and what city is built around that, because these will be cities that house people. They'll be mobile cities, but some of them will stay permanently because we will put big infrastructure in as required to, put in bigger stuff. So these towns will naturally evolve. And a lot of these people will say, no, I'm really happy living here. I'm going to stay there and work these new cities. A lot of Australians will move to them because there is a lot of opportunity in a place like that. So you work your 3 to 4, 5 years, whatever it is, you and your family. We're not sending kids to work on the line, but the kids will get Australianified in that period. You'll get holidays. We're not just going to send you to the Gold Coast and you can do Movie World. Well, you can do that, but we're going to send you to different parts of Australia so that you can truly understand and learn to appreciate just how diverse this wonderful land is. And you might decide that you don't want to go and live in an inner city suburban shithole, and that there might be a beautiful little place in Western Queensland, in northeastern Victoria, in Western Victoria, in northern South Australia, in southeast South Australia, in Western Australia, in anywhere but the capital cities. And in that time, you will be able, while you're working on these projects, you'll get to learn the difference between Aussie rules and rugby league and rugby union, for that matter. Yes, you'll be able to play soccer, your football. Yes, you might even find very competitive teams playing on a national level coming out of these areas. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But it'd be great to see players coming out of those areas playing AFL, NRL and rugby union too, wouldn't it? And this is why it's important that these people learn to assimilate, learn to understand the things that Aussies love. You want to go fishing? You want to catch a barramundi? Got plenty of people, plenty of big dams up in the north that we can take you to, and on the weekend go fishing. Absolutely no problem. So in the course of your 4 or 5 years, let's call it return of service, you become much more aware of what it is to be Australian, and you are introduced to the Australian society through that period at varying different levels. You're not just thrown into it. So you get to experience and step into our culture with a lot more knowledge than you did if you just got off the plane and stepped through customs and out onto the street. Why do we want a return of service? Well, Australia needs to get something because every Australian is suffering at the moment. There are queues for everything. Traffic is choking in our cities. There is no cash. The government's broke. They are taxing us more and more. And in fact, that is the government incentive here, to bring more people into the country, to tax them. Unfortunately, there are no jobs for these people to have. That's why another incentive the Australian government is offering is to, will you come from your country and learn our trades here for a year, and then we can let you build. There'll be no money left to build by the time all that gets through. Although there will be, because the people who are going to do the building are going to get the money from the UAE. Where will that place Australians in the list to get housing? So I think we have potential here to introduce people into the country. The country gets something back, a nation-building exercise out of it, and the folks who are involved in that nation-building exercise get education, free cultural education, free adaptation, free mental health services, all these great, wonderful things, and they get their whatever it is from the dole every month, right up until their last year. And in their last year, they're given the choice, because you'll know by then whereabouts you might like to go. So those conversations should start happening in the last year of service. Where do you think you might like to go? Where do you think you might like to live? Thank you for your service. You've done a marvelous job. And at the end of your service, you are handed a check comparable to the work you have done for the last 5 years. Now, if you and your wife have been working as, I don't know, a bulldozer driver and a teacher, you might get a check for $1 million between the two of you to go off into the Australian society, buy a house where you want to buy it, where you've decided you want to settle down and become part of Australia. And that very well may be in the town you've been living in, moving along whatever project we're building at the time, and the small towns that develop along the way. Can you imagine some of the towns that we could develop across this nation with a fast train project? because it's difficult to get a fast train to turn corners. I understand that. So one of the big excuses I've heard about getting a fast train from Perth to Sydney, for instance, and having it stop in Adelaide and Melbourne is the fact that it's got a curl. And that is a real problem. Well, this solution that I'm proffering, it may not be an entire solution. Please don't think that I'm throwing it up like that. But this solution would mean new developments in areas maybe outside of Adelaide, outside of Melbourne, a bit closer to the engineering feasibility of where this rail line could go. And those towns will grow exponentially. This is a nation-building idea, and I've only just touched on it. If you're a brain surgeon and you come over here, and you will not get accredited as a brain surgeon here until you've gone and done another 7 years of university. But we would be prepared, if you say you're a brain surgeon and you've got your accreditation, we'd be prepared to let you work as a brain surgeon in amongst the group under supervision. And you might find that in 3 to 5 years or 3 years that you've more than surpassed whatever standard test has to be passed, and you might be able to move out into society, particularly if you have a skill that is in high demand. If you come and you don't have any skills at all, we'll teach you one. We'll teach you how to drive an excavator, how to drive a truck. No, I'm not going to say it. Magnetic River, what the? Are you talking about maglev trains? Maglev trains don't connect to the rail, Greg. They sort of ride on a magnetic cushion. I think that's what you're referring to. And they do have a sort of a lock around the rail mechanism, I believe, that keeps them from shaking themselves off the rail, so to speak. But at extremely high speeds, that shimmy in a high-speed rail service isn't just a problem, it's a catastrophe. So that's why I wonder, not knowing much about maglev technology, and we want to invite a few Germans to come over and a few Japanese to come over, and maybe, do the French use maglevs? I don't know. TGV. No, I don't think they're maglevs. The Germans certainly use a maglev, so we could get them over for a little bit of help in that regard. It might be that Australia's heat, particularly across the centre of the country, will never allow something like this to happen, simply because we can't keep that core rail from warping. And the last thing you want at 500 kilometres an hour, as you're traipsing across the Nullarbor, is 2 or 3 or 4 shimmies in the rail, because you're going to derail rather rapidly and get thrown out of your magnetic control envelope. That could be one of the problems that we face there. But these are just 2 ideas that I've got to admit are just things I like. I like the Bradfield project. I love the idea of being able to bring that water south and being able to drought-proof the country, being able to open up new farming areas, being able to use the farming technology and skills coming in from these people from overseas, who will also be able to employ them along the building route. Oh, no, I'm a farmer, mate. I just know how to grow rice in the middle of a sand paddock. You give me 1,000 litres of water and, I can feed us for a week. Those people are going to be required, ingenuity, ingenious types, people who can fix issues, problem solvers. They're the ones we need in this country. And at the moment, our government doesn't offer anything by way of nation-building ideas. If we were building a train line across this country, could we not get a deal with BHP to open up a furnace somewhere, or maybe a few of them, which would employ quite a number of people outside of the build corridor? Because we've already got places, Port Augusta, I think, north of Adelaide, there was smelters there. I don't know whether or not they're still there, what infrastructure is still available. But smelting and heating and steel technology has come forward in leaps and bounds. You can't tell me there isn't money in having this sort of infrastructure around all over it. But successive governments in this country refuse to look at nation-building projects. This isn't a project that'll be completed in 5 years. This is a project that's going to take 25 or 30 years to complete. And in that time, if we do not do something like massive infrastructure builds in this country, we are just going to have a bunch of people living around the edges of this great nation of ours, sucking on the public tit, waiting for their universal living wage to turn up in their bank account every month, and fighting for a car park at the local Woolies. Governments are too afraid to introduce huge nation-building projects because they're not going to see the money. That money's going to go off to other people. They won't be able to control it for 25 or 30 years. That's why we haven't had any nation-building products in this country since, well, I'm not even sure we've had one in my lifetime. They're trying to do one at the moment with the Snowy Hydro too, which is just a complete, well, you know exactly what it is. A complete shit fight, a complete waste of our money and our time. They keep getting the tunnel borer bogged. It's now blown out billions of dollars above the expected cost. That's because we have incompetent governments employing corrupt officials in unions, in businesses. We have every level of that business has been corrupted in some way, shape, or form, from the design drawings through to the execution. And the Australian people continue to pay for it with no way that it's going to give the benefits back to all of us that we're all paying for. It'll give benefits back to some, for sure. What about we start putting people to work? If you want to come and live here, great. And I think this plan would have a happy side effect in that the offer has changed somewhat. We will not be getting 1,000 people a day turning up to accept this offer, because many of them will think, shit, I've got to go there and work. Oh, no. They told us before that we just come and you give us money and, you know, somebody will let me go and drive a truck. Let's do that. Well, no. If you want to learn how to drive a truck, you do that 3,000 kilometers from the nearest city on the dirt in the middle of nowhere. And you do it while you're learning about Australia. And I guarantee you some of those folks that come out of an environment like that will be much better Australians than many current ones that we have who've lived here all their lives. So that's just my quick take on it. And I've gone a bit longer on it than I wanted to. But I haven't been looking at your comments, so I'd be interested to see what thoughts you have on that. And if you do have any, you can email them to me, carl@vofhq.com, or by all means, please leave them in the comments here, because it helps with the algorithm, apparently. I can bring up the Waving Wonder now, who knows all about algorithms. Is that right? It helps?
Caught me having a smoke.
Yeah.
Sorry, people, I had to drop out of that conversation for a while. The Friday that keeps on giving is still keeping on giving.
Great.
So anyway, yeah, one of the things that I didn't know, I know you brought up about workers, but what about training our own Australian?
Well, that would be the thing. We would need to train our own workforce and our own managers and our own compliance officers, if you like. So we want our tradies to teach the trades to their tradies out in those places. So we need young apprentices fired up, keen to go out and finish their apprenticeship and then go to work where they can make a lot of money teaching other people, but also it's on the job training. These guys would just be leading the fact. So, you know, these union driven training organizations could get a lot of money out of this. You know, a lot of money.
As long as they're Australian owned.
Well, I agree, as long as they're Australian owned.
Yeah. Unlike a certain video you put up the other night. I think that this needs to be discussed further, Carl, on another show. I think flesh it out a bit more, get some of your picky pictures up, etc.
I think it does need circles and arrows. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do have something else that I want to throw out to the crowd for comment. Right. Our wonderful Mr. Albanese. Sorry, nearly choked on that. He's going to be visiting Trump shortly. Maybe we need to get Trump's email address and send from Australia, please, message. Can you tell Albanese to shove his censorship up his ass? The Australian people.
I think that would be good. We should also, if you haven't done so already, that QR code up in the top corner there, get your phone out, take a shot of that, and go and sign the petition of no confidence in the Albanese government. I haven't had a look in the last day or so. Last time I looked, it was well over 100,000 signatures. That makes it about 9,900,000 short of what I think it needs to be. We've got until the 22nd of October to get more names on there, but a significant proportion of people. I'll be honest. I'll be really happy if we can get 150 to 250,000 signatures. There is an algorithm, if you like, that is used to do with people who will take the time to write or to complain about something or to sign something like a petition. And to sign something like a petition, it's 1 in 11 people will actively go and click on that and go and sign the petition now that we've told you that it's there and what you can do. 1 in 11. So if we could get 1 in 11 voters to sign on that, that would give us a pretty significant proportion of the Australian voting public, 150 plus thousand people, saying no. And that is a significant message to send to Donald Trump so that he can apply pressure to Albo Sleazy. Now, Albo has also agreed, get this, Albanese has agreed to a televised sit down with Trump.
Trump will play nice for the cameras, but I guess outside of the cameras,
No. See, Trump does these things in two ways. You get, well, three ways. You get a quiet meeting in the background, maybe in the Oval Office. You might get your local country's press representative in there to take a photo to prove that you were in there, but you don't get a live broadcast. Those sorts of events are saved for special people. If you're one level below the special people, then you will get a press conference as such, but it will not be streamed live unless they deem it to be of certain importance. So you'll get a press call where you as the leader will sit there and smile and Trump and take photos and it'll all be wonderful. The press will go home and then they'll print, or they won't print, whatever happens that day. And then there is this third and final one where you get the invitation to come on a public live interview press conference. We've only seen it twice, I think, so far. Zelensky was the first with he and J.D. Vance, with Trump and J.D. Vance. And the second one was Cyril Ramaphosa from South Africa. And that didn't go too well. Yeah.
There's been a third
humiliation
one.
ritual.
The Canadian Prime Minister also did one.
Oh, that's true. Beg your pardon. Canadian Prime Minister did too. And if you're, for those not playing along, Canada, Australia, New Zealand.
And Britain.
No. I want to say Greenland, somewhere else, are officially annexed now by the US Republic, given the involvement set up of the first corrupt election in 2020, I beg your pardon. So there is a lot of talk in America now with people who hitherto have poo-pooed this idea completely and laughed hysterically when it's been suggested that America might just take over countries and how they would do that. Well, I think we are seeing it in some of these meetings. It's not overt at this point in time, but just watch what happens with Elbow Sleazy in America. There's going to be a lot of capitulation, I think, and I still have my doubts that this whole digital ID thing is going to start in December because of it. Cunning Linguist, can you get an empty bob holder, please? Well, you can. It'll cost you $130 and $14 postage. How's that?
He said empty.
No. We
Although,
don't do empty.
in all fairness, guys, you know, Carl and I have said that we've both had a radical day today. There's some good reasons for that. Just saying that, yeah, at some point we may need your help really very well. How do I say this? We may need your help very, 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 very. Okay, that's not very much. All right, stay tuned.
Yeah, we're going to need to sell these in kilo lots, though, I think.
Or more, right? Yes, it's about the future of us, Voice of Freedom, FBN Network. So stay tuned, guys. We're working on stuff, but we may need your assistance to make it viable. Okay? I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, so as far as an empty bob holder, yes, we can do that, but it will definitely, we're going to have to charge. So I'm saying 10 for the bob and $14 for posting. We can do that, and we make, you know, a couple of dollars out of that if we're lucky. All right. If you're happy with that, Cunning Linguist, send an email to Vince, and I will organise it.
Pinching my bloody bob holders, I don't know.
Well, oi, who's bob holders?
Beg your pardon. Sorry. Beg your pardon. We'd love to send you some, folks, if you would like some bobs. They are very easy to get. Just email me at vofcarl@vofhq.com. When they turn up, that's what they'll look like. A good example there of the two different types of bob holder. You can see two of them have got a silver sort of face with where you can see my face, and two of them don't. As it turns out, I was struggling to see my face in those ones, the not silver ones. But as it turns out, if you hold this thing the right way and just tilt it, everything leaps out at you finally. So I don't know why I'd never seen that before, but it's very impressive the way that it works. So well done. And I've had a couple of other people send emails today saying they've received theirs too. They're very chuffed with the way it looks. Sunflower got hers. She's blown away. Just between you, me, and the gatepost, she got the pink one. So she's very special. There's only one pink bob holder, and Sunflower got that. So yeah, thank you to everybody who's invested in them so far, and I'm sure you'll find that your investment is growing much more than most other things that you would be able to buy through, you know, this kind of shit. It's better than a hoodie, put it that way.
I don't know. I like our hoodies.
Oh, I like our hoodies too, but I like things that appreciate in value, and these Byron Bobs are going to do that.
Please,
all right.
Please remember before the waving
let's-
window disappears off the screen. Please remember we still have Lotto 7, just to correct Carl. Lotto 7 for the good donkey sanctuary out there running. We need to get that going. Remember that Lotto 10 is when the next gold one comes. So you've got to get through two more first. So please go to merch.vofhq.com. Purchase yourself a ticket or 2 or 3 or 20 and get in there and have a chance to win $750 and get one of those wonderful little bobs holders, as well as the possibility for a second prize or another prize, whichever way you want to work that. Depends on whether you want to believe in first, second, or woke stuff. Sorry, I just said that. But
true that.
Get out there and put put in there. Now, if you have signed on before and you've bought a lottery ticket and you don't know, under the lottery ticket, there is a link that will show you how to get back into the system. I've placed it there in the lottery system so that you can get it. It's all by itself right there in the middle. Click on that and it will show you how you can sign yourself in and how you can then purchase tickets if you wish to. Right, from that, I can only say one more thing. Bye.
Thank you to the Waving Wonder, the legend himself. We've had a hell of a week here, folks. We will be able to tell you more about it at some stage, I'm sure. But right now, not quite prepared to. So we've got to put our thinking caps on. But it is quite a serious issue, and we are going to need your help, or we're going to close up shop. It's pretty much that simple. So look forward to being able to share that with you when we can. And it'll be what it'll be at the end of the day. Have yourself a brilliant weekend, folks. If you are heading out to go and do things, then make sure you do them safely. You know my feelings on those people who are going to be on the roads this weekend. I'm planning on not spending much time on the roads this weekend because there is something happening that I know I feel a bit bad for being distracted by it, but it is something that's distracted me pretty much all my life. Last year, not so much. I couldn't even tell you what I did last year, but this year I am determined to have a very happy Bathurst weekend. So we'll see which of the touring taxis can take out the mountain race this weekend. There'd be more than one or two dickheads floating around the mountain. I am sure of that. Have yourself a great weekend, folks. Look forward to talking to you next week, and stay out of the weather if it's going to get nasty in your part of the world. Cheers.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!